Welcome to the Wordsmith Forge Christian Fiction Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Baines, and today I have the privilege of introducing you to Tom Jones, an author whose journey into Christian fiction began in a very unexpected way through the arrival of a little stray dog named Waldo. From his professional background in advertising to his powerful testimony of faith, Tom brings both storytelling craft and heartfelt devotion into his writing. In this conversation, you'll hear how his unique perspective shapes his books, how biblical truth and historical detail are woven into his story, and how his experiences of God's grace continue to influence his work. Let's get with it. Tom, would you mind introducing yourself to our audience?
Hello, as Mike said, my name's Tom Jones. I live in New Braunfels, Texas, which is midway between San Antonio and Austin, so right in a major growth area of the country.
Now, reading your bio, Tom, you've not always been a Texan. You were, well, what some of us might call an Ohesian. You started out in Ohio.
Yes.
So, when did you move to Texas?
Moved to Texas in 1980, thereabouts. I graduated from Kent State University in 80, and that was right at the time of a major recession and the coining of the term Rust Belt. Everything from Detroit through Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, Pennsylvania was shutting down, and it was bad. So I and basically everyone else getting out of school with any sense moved south and went to Houston, Texas. As an indicator of how bad it was, I came from Akron, Ohio, which had been a boomtown in its own right many years.
Yep.
Not a small town. In the Sunday paper, every single job classification combined, including trade schools, everything was a half a page. The Houston paper had over 120 pages just in the professional category alone.
Yeah.
It was horrendous, the amount of jobs that were available. So I went there. I ended up working at a small advertising agency, putting ads together. And then from there, ended up moving to San Antonio, where I worked in the advertising industry for 20 years. Worked as a copywriter at 3 of the major advertising agencies, then went out on my own freelance for 10 years. So unlike many of your guests that may have a pastoral background, I came at this from a professional writing background. And give a little background on what copywriting in an advertising agency is. My mom never understood it for years. It's like, well, you put that little circle thing with the R in the C. No, that isn't it.
Yeah.
It is basically anything you see published other than a book or magazine or newspaper, even everything within newspapers, any ad, any brochure, any television commercial, any radio commercial, outdoor board, that is generally all been written by a copywriter. And as such, you have to master absolutely everything that comes in. You have to know it better than the client themselves know it. If you're going to be doing heart bypass surgery, you may be in the operating room. I never got that chance. I real close, did other things. But an example of, and anything could come in your office door any day of the week, or maybe 6 different things, all completely different.
So around where you live there, New Braunfels, Texas, is there some special place you like to go just to kind of refresh yourself to?
Well, it depends on the season. In the summer, it's stay inside in the air conditioning and refresh yourself. Yeah. Otherwise, we have a pretty good-sized backyard that over the past several years, due to drought and watering restriction, what had been a lush grass-covered backyard turned into barren dirt. So what I did, I joined Texas Master Naturalist, part of that, so that gets me out and about.
Yeah.
But turned that backyard into an urban meadow. So we have all kinds of flowers and stuff coming up there, and butterflies and everything else. And then also as part of the Texas Master Naturalist, we're expected to volunteer a certain amount of hours per year. So there's a nature preserve in the area, the headwaters at the Comal, that I spend time over there helping out with.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. Tom, to help our audience get to know you a little better, what are 3 of your favorite songs?
Oh, I thought about that, and probably in order, it becomes and the first one has been a favorite for ages, Desperado.
Oh, yeah.
And then the second one, what was it? I had it in my mind. Oh, Believe by Brooks and Dunn. And then the third one, Live Forever by Billy Joe Shaver.
Yeah.
May not be familiar with that one, but in this neck of the woods, his name is kind of just below Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson even respected him when he was alive. Songwriter, storyteller.
Yeah, yeah. How about your 3 favorite movies?
That one I've thought of for years. I've always thought, which genre would be my favorite movie in this category? Which one would be in this one? And then I watched one of the podcasts you had where someone said, tell me the name of your movies, and I'll tell you about the person. I got to think,
yeah.
Oh, this is interesting. What's the commonality here in this strange person? But the one that would have been the number one in Westerns that I'll put at the top of the list is The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance.
Oh, a nice old one. That's from the 70s, somewhere in there?
I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Lee Marvin, Jimmy Stewart, John Wayne.
Yeah, the Ballad of Liberty came out in the 60s, I guess. So, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
He did that. It might have been the early 60s.
Yeah.
And then the next one that came out even right after that, that's I've loved forever, Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah. Classics.
And then the third one is like, okay, here comes the wacky side. Monty Python and the Search for the Holy Grail. And I got to looking at that. What is the commonality? They're all on a quest. They're all on a mission.
Yeah.
Jimmy Stewart going out west to bring law and education where they had none.
Right.
And then Lawrence of Arabia, he was looking to unite the Arab nations. And Monty Python, well, he's looking for the Holy Grail.
Well, I was thinking that what are your 3 favorite songs? What are your 3 favorite movies? I thought I should ask, what is your favorite color?
Color?
Yeah. Okay, audience, I hope you've seen Monty Python and the Search for the Holy Grail. So that's where that was taken from.
That's a perfect question for that. Yeah.
No, I'm glad I got to fit that in. You are, I think, like 33rd, 34th author I've interviewed, and the first time I got to ask, what is your favorite color? So I got it done. A little more serious, Tom. Let's drill down to what really makes Tom Jones tick. Would you mind telling us about your walk with Christ?
Oh, as I warned you earlier, I may need a Kleenex for this. Some things I don't get into very often.
Well, let's
still
not...
so horribly painful, but let's have a go at it.
Oh, okay, we understand.
Yeah, way back, I worked at the advertising agencies for 10 years. And then the third agency I worked at, you can get fired from an advertising agency for any number of reasons. The economy turns around, the wife doesn't like the advertising agency or the husband or whatever. And so they determined that I wasn't needed at that point, so I was out on my own. Let me even back up just a little bit before that. Right before that happened, I started dating a woman who had invited me to her church. Okay, that's fine. I had nothing against it. I didn't have any really Christian upbringing. I kind of subscribed to the gospel of Jesus Christ Superstar. That understood the story, but as far as anything in my heart, it wasn't quite there. but went to the church with her, and she got me on a men's Christian retreat.
Uh-huh.
And then, we were on the way to be married. Everything was really kind of in place. I had a home, I had a Labrador, I had a fiance, I had a decent job. I'd been on this men's walk, probably found Christ at that point, if not somewhere in between, all around it. There was a lot of stuff going on. And then everything fell apart completely. Lost the fiance, lost the job, about lost the house. But what had also happened at that time, when I was first starting to date her, a little stray dog showed up on my porch and adopted me. I had no choice in the matter. I tried to keep him out. He walked in underneath the Labrador, and I'm looking, where's this dog? Where did he go? And he was in my bedroom laying in the Labrador's beanbag like, hey, Dad, where you been?
Yeah.
On this Christian men's retreat, at the end of it, one of the questions was, what have you learned and what are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
What I was going to do with it was write the story of Jesus's dog, because this little dog had showed up on my front porch. I'm a creative person. I can't have a little dog without a backstory. I have to invent a backstory for him. His full name originally was Waldo Maccabees von Helsing Romanoff Leroy Jones.
That's a big pedigree.
He had lived through different ages and had a different story to tell in each one. Well, my goal at the end of the men's retreat was to tell the story of Jesus's dog. So I started writing that. And then around the same time, I started writing little daily devotionals based on, the upper room or something of things that were happening in my life. And then when it all fell apart, it fell apart big time.
Yeah.
I was really looking to go on welfare at one point. It was that bad. But I kept writing and kept trying to look for work and finding little bits and pieces here and there from different advertising agencies, private companies and stuff, but kept working on Waldo and kept working on these little daily devotionals as things were happening. And as bad as it got, and it got bad.
Yeah.
God was with me every step, and I documented it. Miracles truly happened that you would say, oh, no, he's telling a tale. No, it happened. So it was quite an amazing process to get through all of that and come out on the other side.
Definitely. So the fiance that departed played an integral role. Just that, yeah. I'm always interested in the little bitty, seemingly inconsequential decisions that we make that lead us towards this set of large decisions and forever exclude you from all the other large decisions.
Yeah, even what happened there, she got me into the church, and and basically I was dumped to foundling on the church doorstep at that point
with a broken tail.
Yeah, really, truly. But that church was where I met my wife of now almost 30 years.
Huh.
And
yeah.
It was one of those, you're talking that point where everything hinges on it. I could have left that church.
Yeah.
I could have walked away, humiliated, tail between my legs.
Definitely.
I decided, no, I'm staying.
Yeah.
And I did. And, the church wrapped their arms around me, and we made it together.
Yeah. Fantastic. That's quite a testimony, Tom. I appreciate you sharing that with us. So, Waldo Maccabees is obviously it was a Christian fiction, and as you told us, it was sparked just because you can't tolerate something without a backstory.
Yep, absolutely.
So you would attribute your writing to this little dog.
Yep. And it's funny because when you first contacted me and, interviewing authors about Christian fiction, it was like, what? Fiction? In my own little way, I don't view it as fiction, call me nuts. But there's two versions of Waldo out there. there is just the straight telling of the story, Waldo Maccabees and the Footsteps of Christ. I wrote that, and early on, I got a comment from somebody that stuck in my craw, I guess you would say, and hurt me. They said it had anachronisms in it. Well, there's not a single anachronism in that entire book. I researched it to the nth degree. Everything that's in there is historically accurate. And, because one of the things maybe this person saw at the beginning was the dog was wearing a dog tag, collar and a dog tag. They had them. Romans had dogs with collars and tags. I saw the cast of one in Pompeii last year when we went to visit that had been entombed, and you can clearly see the collar around its neck, the tag, that type of thing. So all these things are very factual that are in the book.
The Romans probably had a dog tax too.
Yeah, they probably did. And that'd be like the second version then of the book, because after I got the first one printed, I wanted to go back and say, okay, I'm going to annotate this. I'm going to put all my sources.
Oh, my.
And put detailed information in the book about where this information came from, what it meant. And it goes not just into the biblical history straight out of the Bible. It's going into the Talmud of the Jewish faith. It's going into Josephus, the Jewish historian. It goes into archaeological finds like that. It goes into the origin of Hebrew and Latin words that you would never know. If one were to just read the Bible, which that's an accomplishment in itself, but to read it and to think, oh, a dog. Okay, well, in the Bible, anytime you come across a dog, that's a filthy thing. It's, it's licking up the blood of Jezebel or something like that. It's a horrible thing. And you have this idea that dogs are just bad. You start digging into the history, there's something else going on. There is a novel, one of the first novels that was ever written was called Tobit, and it featured a little dog. And this is before Christ. And this was in the Hebrew writings. There's like 5 copies of this book in Qumran of this story that includes a little dog. So somebody liked the dogs back then. And then also the Hebrew word for dog is kelev, which is made of 2 words. The 2 words are close to the heart. So something's going on there. Yeah. You have the story of Passover, where you have the different plagues going on. All the firstborn are being killed. But it notes in the Bible, it's a little small thing, that the dogs didn't bark when this was going on. None of the dogs barked. What's this about? The Jewish midrash, the writings say, well, it was either so the Jews could escape or so that they could get a good night's sleep while the children of the Egyptians were being killed. So as a result, dogs, even during Passover, are allowed to eat leavened bread as a reward. Things like that. And then when I was writing the story, one of the points that naturally fits into it is when Jesus is speaking to the Syro-Phoenician woman, who's a child. And get to studying that, and you'll find something that most pastors wouldn't even notice or pay particular attention to. In effect, our salvation depended on a little dog. Sounds nuts, I know. But with the conversation between Jesus and the Syro-Phoenician woman, she's wanting, this healing for her daughter, and he basically dismisses her. We don't give the bread from the table to the dogs, which, boy, that sounds like a slam. But then she comes back and says, yes, but even the master's dogs eat the crumbs
that fall on the floor. Yeah.
And she wins. It's the only time Jesus is bested in any of the Gospels. And if you look at it, before that point in the Gospels, Jesus didn't like Gentiles. He makes several disparaging comments about Gentiles.
He was a Jew, yeah.
They cease after that encounter. The only other comment kind of negative to the Gentiles is their masters kind of lord over them. But from that point on, the Gentiles are accepted, and history turned. Jesus opened his heart to the Gentiles, not just the Jews. So all of this gets wrapped in. It's kind of like I was going to get back to that, when I was first approached the work of fiction, and I'm saying, well, I guess. I don't live it as fiction. There was a term decades ago that stuck with me when I first heard it. Nobody uses it anymore. You might say now, historical fiction or Christian fiction or something like that. The term came from Truman Capote when he was writing In True Blood. And what he called that was a nonfiction novel. That it had this whole underpinning of reality in what actually happened, but he wrote fiction around it. So it's a nonfiction novel, which I claim that more than a historical fiction because, everything that I have in it is based on the New Testament and, the Old Testament, because with where Waldo is going in the book, at the beginning, he makes this pledge. He's going to protect this man with his life. Well, we have a problem here. Happy ending, so no problem there. But as he's winding his way through the book, he's explaining things in his own way. He can smell things. He can sense things other people can't do. He ends up in the confines of the temple. Well, in the gospel, Jesus goes to the temple, but it never says within the New Testament, what is the temple? Somebody just reading that, you would have no idea. Was that like the church, the corner? Some little place with a steeple? But it's never explained. But within Waldo, it all gets to be explained as he's in and out of places where he shouldn't be and can't be and stuff like that to bring a greater depth to the gospel story. It's just a weird way of looking at it.
Yeah. I have this image of Jesus walking along with all these little plastic bags tucked under the belt of his tunic.
Yeah. Well, they need for all the disciples too. There weren't too many outhouses on the road to Jerusalem.
Well, yeah, you had a lot to clean up there.
Yep.
Well, you've covered quite a few of my questions, like which biblical truth or passage anchors the book we're discussing today, and you have you're more or less claiming the New Testament.
Yeah, there is one passage that locked in my head. I was talking about these miraculous things that happened during the bad period. Well, when I left the agency, was going to start out as a freelancer on my own. I probably had 200 books in the house, scattered everywhere. Reference books, all kinds of things, in closets, under beds, bookcases, that type of thing. And I wanted to be able to find a source quickly, so that if I needed to write something, and I needed flower names or whatever, here it was. This is before internet. If you didn't have books, you didn't have the knowledge in front of you. You'd have to go track it down in a library or something like that. So I was always picking up books. But I decided I needed to organize these books in some form or fashion so that I could have them readily accessible. And I got, 20 probably of these beautiful Xerox photocopy paper boxes, square with a lid that sets right on the top, and you can just pull it off, and the paper's all in there. They were empty. I had these great boxes. And I started cataloging and organizing all the books and putting them into boxes. And on May 6th, turning into May 7th, midnight, I was done. All the boxes were sitting in the middle of my dining room floor. Didn't have a dining room table at that point, with the inventory sheets on the top of each one, ready to be put under the bed in the morning. And you head to bed, and the voice in my head says, no, put them away. No, I'm not going to put them away. It's past midnight. It's my birthday. It was May 7th. Put them away. No, put them away. Okay. So I did. I put the lids on and put them all under the bed and went to sleep. In the morning, I woke up to the sound of dripping water. Like, what the heck is that? There's very few places where the water could be dripping in my house. It's an old house. It's a small house. So from my bedroom, I can get into each of the bathrooms and the kitchen. So I walked into the main bathroom. There's nothing dripping in here. So I walk back the other way and look in the other bathroom. There's nothing dripping in there. I go into the kitchen. There's nothing dripping in there. Where the heck am I hearing dripping water? I walk into the dining room. A new air conditioning unit I had just had installed. The drip pan up in the attic was not level. It had overflowed and flooded the floor where all those books would have been.
Yeah.
It took a stack of towels, 2 feet tall, to mop up the floor. So that happens, and then I had another thing with the verse of I was living skinny, and I was expecting a check in the mail on, I think it was a Monday. And the woman who said she'd put it in the mail, I trust her implicitly. She, a good woman, would never lie to me, so I knew the check was in the mail. And there was a system, I guess you would say, in the neighborhood when you were notified of mail delivery. The dog at the end of the street would bark. That would start the next one. That would start the next one. That would start the next one. And it would make it to my dog on the sofa, the little mutt, who would just go insane when the mailman was on the other side of the window putting the mail in. So I'm there all day, and the dogs don't bark, and the dogs don't bark, and I'm pacing, and it keeps coming to my head. My grace is sufficient for you. My grace is sufficient for you. The day goes on and on. My grace is sufficient for you. It's like, yeah, that's great, Dad, but I need a check. My grace is sufficient for you. 6 o'clock that evening, I'm out in the front driveway accosting the neighbors as they drive up. Can you believe that the mailman hasn't shown up yet? I turned to my mailbox to throw it open to look inside this empty mailbox. There was my check. He had kept the dog silent throughout the entire neighborhood to prove a point to me.
That's rich. That's interesting.
And with like the stories like that, I turned those here recently into another book, Update Grace, that had all of these little devotionals I was writing as it was going on, little miracles, that type of thing. So really, in a way, there's 5 books that are all tied together intimately. I wrote Waldo, the first version, and had an agent, and we couldn't get it published. And I finally get kind of a word from God through some scripture. Wait. It broke my heart. It did. But stop. Wait. And nearly 20 years went by. You got 40 years in the desert or whatever, 40 days. But in the meantime, I had noted earlier, I think my grandparents were great storytellers. Well, I had gotten a tape recorder and recorded their oral histories, and thought at this point, well, why not just edit them together and write historical narrative around it? And I did, and as I was researching it, come to find out I had the only record in existence of the Great Migration through the viewpoint of the hillbillies that came north. The Great Migration's remembered for being a great migration of African Americans. Actually, there were far more hillbillies that came north. And I had in my grandfather's memory was phenomenal, things I never would have imagined. And I could track it down now through the internet. And so I wrote that and thought, well, I'll publish that. And at this point, self-publishing had become a thing, but it's a difficult book to self-publish. It's filled with footnotes and photographs, and this is the first thing I'm going to try to self-publish. It's really going to be difficult. Wait a minute. I have that Waldo book. Why don't I try that? That's a simple narrative. It's just running text. So I did that, figured out how to use the system through Waldo, allowed me then to self-publish the other oral history books which won awards from Ohio and the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and then came back to do with that now having given me a little more recognition, come back and do the second Waldo book, and then the Days of Grace book. So they were all working together at the same time.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Well, many of our listeners are looking for books that reach boys, men, or entire family, and I don't know what would be more bring more people together from all ages than a puppy.
Yep.
So I don't need to ask you, but would you comment on how you feel your book connects with that audience?
Oh, it'd be great, because you have, in effect, two different reading levels in the same book, because you have the straight story of Waldo, but if you want to go much deeper than that, there's the annotated version, and it has like nearly 150 footnotes in it that are biblical references and language references, things on that order that can really allow you to go deep into the time period. There are different things are said in passing. We have Lazarus being raised from the tomb. Well, there's a common belief among the Jews at that time, it's not said in the Bible, but even the spirit leaves the body after 3 days, and it won't come back, because after 3 days it can't recognize the body. So that's, within mention in passing in the text, but in the footnotes it goes into detail about that and where it came from. Little things like that of at the Last Supper, Jesus is untying the sandals of the disciples to wash their feet.
Yeah.
That was something that was lower almost than a slave to do. Where is that? It's like, we can hear about that, but here's where it was actually cited in Jewish writings, that this is the story. And that, the whole week of Passion Week, that type of thing, there's a lot of details that aren't in the Bible that this gets to fill in. So it really is a Bible study as well as a pretty good read. I've had some very wonderful reviews on Amazon about it of people that have read it.
So would this be a book that a parent might read to their child in the evening as for a bedtime story?
Sure. The reviewers said that. Yeah.
The child is entertained and the adult is taught. Yeah.
Certainly don't shy away from the crucifixion. It's there. If the child can handle the crucifixion in the Bible, they can handle it in here as well. Yeah. But we all know there's a happy ending.
Yes, sir. Yeah, you don't want to end on that unhappy note.
No. Something always coming.
Yeah. Do you see your writing more as a ministry, a mission, or just a message? How so?
Well, it's been a ministry in many ways for years, and a mission as well. With the annotated book, it's like I can't keep my hands off. I keep updating things in it. I'll find something new, and I'll put some new annotation in it and update it again. And, hopefully we'll get a audience for the books through here, and then it really becomes more of a ministry.
Yeah. Was there a Christian author that shaped you early on?
Certainly, I've read Max Lucado and his writings. Otherwise, not a whole. I subscribe to a online, I don't know what you want to call it, a blog or whatever, called Medium. There's a number of Christian authors on there that I've been reading lately, and you can really tailor who you want to see and what you want to learn, that type of thing, and you get basically kind of little sermons every day that can be very inspiring.
Do you feel that God has given you any lessons through your writing?
Oh, probably dozens of like the ones in the Days of Grace book, that there's just so many things that happened. We had a sermon on Sunday at the church. When you're wanting the presence of God, and how do you power through that? What does your faith tell you? You're needing help. You're expecting an answer to prayer, getting anything. And when I I said to him afterwards as we were going out, shaking his hand goodbye, and then there's other where Jesus kicks the door down, steps through it, sticks out his hand and says, "Hey,
Yeah. This way."
So he may not be here when you want him in person, I guess you would say, with any particular feeling, but he's always here. And you just got to pace yourself and know it's coming. This is all in his timing, and it may not work now, but in the greater good, somehow it will.
Jesus is the slowest person I know that's always on time. He is always on time.
It may not be our time.
Oh, yeah. What's our time got to do with anything?
A day is 1,000 years. I can't wait 1,000 years.
This earth.
Nope.
So could you come up with one sentence that might convince a skeptical man to read your book?
Man, to read your book. Well,
I don't read Christian fiction.
Yeah.
Why would I want to do that?
Do you like dogs?
Well, yeah.
Want a story that will help explain some things to you everyone else talks about in a very approachable manner while teaching you some great truths?
Yeah. That sounds like it might do it.
Yeah. Worked for me.
Yeah.
When I got to Nicodemus and Jesus meeting in the Bible, and Jesus talks about being born, it's been one of those moments where when I'm writing it, that it actually all came together. And I was even noting that in the meditation stuff this weekend, because I went even a little deeper into that meeting. And it was the same point with Nicodemus. You are a teacher of Israel. You don't understand this? He had the book learning.
Yeah.
But the spirit had not connected. And there's a difference between the two, as I've found. And Nicodemus may be found. Because even like talking about him, that's the only place he's mentioned in the Bible, is in his interaction there with Jesus at the door in the middle of the night. You get the body at the cross. He's not mentioned in any of the Jewish writings. He's not mentioned in Josephus. And this had to have been a very important person to have had the power to go to Pilate and get this. And as I just fairly discovered recently, that's because Nicodemus, Hellenization, the Greek version of his name, like Yeshua, was Jesus.
Yeah.
And so in the Jewish writings isn't Nicodemus. It's another name which I couldn't pronounce effectively, but he is written about a lot as being a very powerful, wealthy person. So and that's within the notes as well. There's so much that you can just keep.
Yeah. It was Joseph of Arimathea that came to get Jesus' body.
Yep, with Nicodemus.
And I heard an interesting fictional comment from Pilate. Said, "You're a wealthy man and you have this fine tomb. Why in the world are you going to put Jesus in there?"
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "It's only."
Yep.
I thought that was clever. What is the message you would like readers to take away from your books?
Oh, as dedication in the beginning, it's for the strays.
Yeah.
And in some form or fashion, we all are.
Yeah.
So it's a perfect book for that.
Yeah. Please allow us to eat the crumbs on the floor.
Yeah. And be happy.
Yeah. Do you have anything else in next?
Well, there is something else in the works. Don't know how soon it will get released. As really born a writer, I have to write. Part of me. If I'm not doing it, there's something wrong. So back in 2019, my for Christmas gave me a nice leather journal. Oh, that's nice.
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea what in the world I was going to do with it. Then 2020, pandemic kicks off. And it's like, okay, I know what I'm doing now. And I began noting everything that was going on, as it happened. And you go from one week where I'm kind of laughing to myself at the person in front of the grocery store who has taken her sleeve, pulled it over her hand to hold the stylus so she can sign the credit. 2 weeks later, I'm going in with a mask and rubber gloves. We don't know what's going on here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have enough of a sense of history to be aware of the Spanish flu back during World War I that my grandparents were both part of and told stories of, and also was watching at the same counter programming. Netflix was doing one of the great courses available for free, and it was The Great Plague. Back in Middle Ages, of how that just swept through cities, killing hundreds of thousands, millions of people. We knew nothing at the beginning of what was happening with this COVID, and it was kind of frightening. And then continue the journals through the next year and a half or so. We have also down here that we kind of refer to as the snowpocalypse. And there was a great snowfall throughout Texas.
Yes.
And, I'm writing down what's happening there. It's 48 degrees in the house, where normally it would be a little more stuff of that order. So that has all been transcribed, and because it was all written by hand, and I've been of that, but that probably won't be released anytime soon because due to varying factors, I'm not particularly kind individuals that were part and parcel of the whole thing. So let's let things calm down a little bit, maybe on the or something if I'm still alive, but I'll have it all set up in Amazon. All it has to happen is punch the button and it's published.
Yeah.
There was, I even have the name for it already. It came from one of the portable signs with the letters that fill in the letters, put them in.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody had it in front of their gas station in the restaurant, and it was, "I'm getting tired of living in his."
Right. Well, where can folks find your books, and how can they connect?
Amazon. All the books are available there. I have a website. It's okay. It's more for the oral history deck, so the website is on a burningdeck.com. It has the two Waldo books. It doesn't have days ago. Take you right back to the Amazon page, because I don't have anything set up, any kind of ordering or anything like that.
Right. Can people engage with you on that same website?
Yes. There's a contact time.
Yeah. Well, Tom, this has been a great conversation. As we close out, is there a final message?
Trust God.
You don't need to say any more. I think that says it all. That's good. Can we have a word of prayer, please?
Thank you.
Father, as we consider this that we are setting in and how you play such an important role, we just give you all the praise, and we ask that for guidance. We appreciate the gifts that you give those who love you and follow you. We gift for compiling information, for having an imagination, and for the writing that he does. your watch care over him and his family as he goes about his daily life, of him making notes and putting books together. We just thank you. Appreciate you so much in the name of Jesus Christ, our Savior. So I appreciate you taking the schedule, and I've enjoyed this conversation. But I come to the awkward part of every interview. It's where I have the stop button, and it always feels from my point of view. Anyway, Tom, God bless you. Take care, and thank you.
You have a great day.
Same to you. Bye. What an inspiring conversation with Tom Jones. His testimony reminds us that God often uses the most unlikely moments, smallest strays, to lead us into a greater calling. To learn more about Tom and explore his books, you can or visit his website at onaburningdeck.com. As always, thank you for joining me on the Christian Fiction Podcast. I hope today's episode encourages you to see God's hand in your own story. Please share this episode with a friend, leave a review, and subscribe so you won't miss upcoming conversations with others. Until next time, may God's grace be with you, and may you always find strength in the stories that Him. This is Mike Baines, out.